I'm Cade Krakus, joined alongside Coach Geiser. Coach, it's a great time to be back here at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Absolutely, it's always good to eat here.
It is, it's always great to eat here.
Eat and meet here.
I just wanted to ask, do you have any personal favorite Buffalo Wild Wing items that you like to get to eat?
Well, you got to go with wings.
Okay, that's true. That's true.
You got to go with wings if you go here. And I'm not a hot wings guy. More like a barbecue, maybe a little bit of zesty, that sort of thing.
However, though, we did say that if you end up winning the conference championship, we might do the Blazing Challenge.
I did agree to do that.
Yeah,
so
we'll do it together. We'll do it together, but definitely not the whole thing, because I actually been watching videos recently about the Blazing Challenge to see what it's like, and people are like, they're saying it's one of the toughest things I've ever had to eat. So
I haven't had a chance to look at that. I've been a little busy.
I figured you've been busy. Yeah. But speaking of being busy, this past weekend, homecoming, 101st celebration. You guys able to take down Thomas More 38-14. Your thoughts on that game?
I thought the guys came out fast once again, and really kind of, we were up 2 or 3 scores before they had a chance to catch their breath. So total team effort once again, all 3 phases. Coaches did a great job. Players were excited to be back home again and play in front of our fans and alumni and boosters. And, so it was a good day to be an Eagle.
Yeah, I want to say a fun thing that I've been noticing this year with the changes to the parking lot outside and those being redone just outside the stadium. I feel like I'm seeing a lot more tailgaters this year as well, and really bringing that atmosphere into the stadium.
You know what I'm going to say. I don't really notice.
Exactly.
It's great. It's great if there is. It's
of
great
course.
if there is. I know in years past we've had tailgating since we moved the football back on campus. It's been great. I must have been right in that mode. In the mode there. I passed everything.
Exactly. Now I was about to say too. When you get in that locked-in mode, we talked about before, but sometimes you don't notice how many people are there. But I will say, homecoming always draws a ton of people, and I felt like that stadium was packed from start to finish. We talked at the halftime break. We asked you a couple good questions. I told you I was going to throw you a curveball here, but we always talk about on the Doug Geiser show the one-word responses, the legendary Doug Geiser one-word responses, and you did it to my partner Derek on the broadcast, and you definitely knew about it because immediately you started laughing right after you did it. It was hilarious.
What was it? Refresh my memory.
I'm gonna play the clip on the rerun so that others in the audience can see it.
Okay.
But what it was he asked you, I think it was how you felt going into halftime up 31-0, and you said, still got another half to play. And that was it. And then left it at that, which is a good response.
It's not a one word.
It isn't a one word, but I
one-worded you a couple times on the radio show.
You have done that.
Yes,
you have done that.
Yes,
but it's always a legendary discussion.
See, I would never one word Derek Wood.
Okay.
I have too much respect for him. I would never do that to him.
But me, it's a different story.
5 words, maybe.
Maybe.
Not one.
I love it. Well, before we dive into the rest of this episode, what do we have coming up? Who do we have coming on the show today?
Well, we have former player and current coach on the staff, Chris Julian, who's doing a tremendous job for us. We have Nick Sailors, who's a sophomore. He plays safety for us and plays a ton on special teams. And we also have senior punter, Jaden Cook.
Awesome. Well, it should be a great show. So we'll step aside and we'll dive right into everything when we return. Coming up next, right here on the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 7 on the Eagle Network. Ashland University, tradition meets innovation. From academic success to championship athletic programs, Ashland University is a place where students discover their passion and prepare for life after college. With small class sizes, dedicated faculty, and an active campus community, Eagles soar higher here in Ashland. This message is brought to you by Barefoot Floors in Ashland, Ohio, serving residential and commercial flooring needs in Ashland and surrounding areas for the past 38 years.
Back here for the Doug Geiser Show Year 3, I'm WRDL correspondent Louis Tamira.
And I'm AUTV correspondent Bryce Gatton.
And now we're sitting here with Coach. We're ready to break down this past week's win against Thomas More. You ready?
I'm ready.
We're ready. Let's go. Let's start it off. Obviously, Cam Blair had another solid performance, but I want to talk about Jonathan Merrimee to start it off. He had a solid game. What are your thoughts on his day overall?
Well, we got some very talented guys in our room. John's just one of many. And they've all had opportunities to step up and make plays this fall. Saturday just happened to be John's day, and we were able to find him on some crossing routes, some deep routes, and he was definitely able to turn those into some explosive plays.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you guys have been able to run the ball really well the past couple of games. Were you satisfied with the 150 yards on the ground with also those 3 rushing touchdowns?
It was a good start. We were efficient. Our efficiency has really improved the last 3 weeks, and just a matter of continuing to build on that and be consistent from week to week. So it was good, knowing especially the limited amount of plays we had. It was definitely solid, and it was definitely a big key to the game.
And then Cam Blair only sacked 1 time. How has that offensive line group just grown as a whole each week by week?
Well, it's just a matter of when you need to play together, all 5 guys need to play together, and then you kind of develop a synergy and get in sync. And that happens not only with the guys up front, but also with the running backs and the quarterback as well, so they know where the strong part of the pocket is going to be. So it's key, but it naturally happens when you don't have turnover and guys are playing side by side. They basically know each other's thoughts at that point, and that's when you get pretty good.
Sweet. And then moving over to the defensive side of things here, you held their starter to only 34 yards before they eventually went with that quarterback change. How did that change your game plan defensively, if any way?
It didn't really change much. They had played 2 quarterbacks previously, so we had a pretty good idea of what each one does. They're very, very similar skill sets, so it was a very seamless transition for Coach Rose.
Absolutely. Oh, and then as far as Elijah Baldridge, sticking with that defense, with him only being like a sophomore and having 2 more years of eligibility, just talk about his development so far under your system defensively.
He's done a tremendous job. I mean, Elijah's a 2-sport athlete, and so he's also a wrestler, a tremendous wrestler, and so he loses some training time as far as in the weight room, as far as with us. Originally, he came in, we moved him to the defensive interior. So he's a little more at ease, a little better spot this year, playing defensive end, size-wise. And when you have a guy opposite him by the name of Mike Shimmick, who attracts a lot of attention, you get a lot of one-on-one opportunities, and it's fun to watch Elisha play. He plays with a tremendous motor, he's almost like the Tasmanian devil out there, and it's fun to watch. And if you ever just want to, don't watch the ball during the game, watch him, you'll be very, very entertained.
Absolutely. We said his name a lot on the broadcast this week.
Yes. Yep.
And Cade mentioned it in the first segment, homecoming. How special was it for you guys to pick up such a big win in front of such a packed crowd in Jack Miller Stadium?
Well, it's always nice to play well in front of your fans, and whether it's homecoming, whether it's not. But we know there's going to be usually a lot of former players are back. Friends of the program might only get a chance to see us in person 1 time during the year. So we know that going in there, and we just want to kind of show off for them, and the guys did a nice job.
All right, then rounding it off here, 93 points scored as a team in the past 2 weeks. What do you think has clicked?
Well, it's kind of been a 3-pronged effort. It's not just the offense. I mean, you think about it. We've scored a couple times on special teams. You go back even to Hillsdale. We scored on defense. So it's kind of been all 3 phases working in tandem with each other, and you get the opportunity to keep piling on. You do it.
Now, is Coach, are you satisfied with your 3 sides right now?
We're getting better.
Absolutely.
We're not where we need to be yet to accomplish our goals. We're getting better.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you for sitting down with us, Coach.
Appreciate it.
We'll join you back here soon for more Doug Geiser Show right here on the Eagle Network.
Budget, save, invest. A plan to help you make smart retirement choices today. Your future self will thank you.
This ad has been provided by Donald M. Graham and Associates, where our dedicated team will help you meet life's complex financial challenges. Call today to schedule your visit at 1-800-322-6116. Securities and advisory services are offered through Commonwealth Financial Network, member FINRA SIPC.
Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 7. I'm Cade Crackister alongside Coach Geiser and now Coach Chris Julian. Thanks for joining me.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
And Chris, the last time you were on this, it was as a player.
Yeah, man, 2 years ago.
Exactly. So what's changed? How'd you end up in this role now as a member of the coaching staff?
Actually, I was graduating from Ashland, made a move to go play football somewhere else, and after the fact, I just didn't know what I was doing. Reached out to Coach Geiser, and I actually asked him, like, hey, you know any high school coaches? Like, get a high school job, and then he was like, I'll give you a call. So, yeah, ended up working out.
That's awesome.
So I really like it here. I'm glad he brought me back, and I appreciate him for it.
Yeah, and before we kind of dive into the defense as a whole, what made you trust Coach Geiser and give a ring to him?
You know, he is always a guy who had faith in me, and, you know, I think faith and loyalty is everything. So,
yeah.
You know, he's always somebody I can look up to, and, you know, I know he's going to have my back, so.
That's awesome. And Coach Geiser, what made you decide, hey, I'll give Chris a ring back and actually respond to his message?
Well, you know what? When he graduated from Ashland, he actually helped us that spring after, if you remember that. And you could just see he had a great connection with our young players. He had a great ability to communicate with them, speak their language, and to teach. And so that always stuck in the back of my mind. And I believe we actually talked a little bit too that, hey, think about coaching. You might have a good future in coaching based on what I saw. So when he was looking after the fall of 2024, you know, we had an opening in the defensive staff, and I thought he'd be a natural. So we offered it to him, and we were able to court him a little bit. So we had to recruit him back again, and he's come back, and he's done a tremendous job. He's had a great future in coaching.
That's awesome. And, you know, Chris, speaking of the player to coach kind of pipeline for yourself, you know, you finished your Ashland career with 8.5 sacks, had 6 your senior campaign. You know, being able to be one of those top players on that defense, how'd that affect you to be able to be such a strong coach as well?
You know, I think the strongest part was some of the guys, especially in the DN room that I'm helping out with Coach Tabler, just having those relationships with guys.
Of course.
Like, talk about Mike Shimmick a lot. He was a freshman. My later years at Ashland, I got to mentor him.
Yeah.
He's kind of like a brother to me. So, you know, just being able to help out and develop those young guys mean a lot to me, and just having those relationships. So.
Yeah, and through the first couple of weeks of the season now, what have you seen from the defensive side of the ball?
You know, flying around. I like seeing it, especially just seeing guys I played with, young guys that are trying to prove themselves, just flying to the ball, making names for themselves. Just love to see it. And I love coaching them too. You know, in D-line room and special teams, so it's very nice to have.
Yeah, and Coach Geiser, what have you seen from Coach Julian so far in his time as a coach?
You know, he's taken the attitude of, you know, whatever needs to be done. And you know, as a young coach, you challenge guys. You know, find something you can make yourself indispensable. And he's stepped right into the role of not only coaching the defensive ends, he's picked up special teams. You know, in fact, we're watching former tape of a player, Chris Julian, today. We're watching old punt tape against Ohio Dominican, but just seeing him, you know, seeing his work ethic. And it didn't surprise me, because I remember as a you know, when he was a player, you would always see him in odd hours of the day out on Jack Miller Stadium, just really refining his craft. So I knew the work ethic was there. He's carried it over to the coaching realm as well, and we're very, very happy with his addition.
Yeah, and Chris, I got to ask too. You know, going back to that coaching side of things, you know, being a player before, is there a weird aspect to that at all, where, you know, you were once kind of a colleague of these guys, you know, a player with them, and now you're like, hey, go get the water and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's just a weird aspect of, like, I never knew what was talked behind the coach's part of it. You know, you're a player, you know, you just come to practice, give it all you got. Now, send to meetings and with guys that have coached you, and it's just that perspective of it. You make you just laugh about it. All my old teammates, like, how is it? Like, they always want to ask me about how it is, and like, what do coaches say about guys, and it's fun. But yeah, it's definitely weird sometimes. But you know, like, dang, did they talk about me like that?
That's hilarious. That's awesome. Well, and you know, too, on a basis that might be a little bit different as well, but, you know, playing on homecoming is probably one thing. Coaching on it might be a little bit different. Was there at all a chance for you to maybe take in the atmosphere more as a coach?
Yeah, it was interesting. You know, playing always gets excited. You know, playing for your alumni, guys who played before you, also the guys that were seniors when you were younger, just playing for those guys, and then you're as a coach, you know, I'm walking up the stairs for halftime and I'm just seeing all my old teammates like, oh my goodness. It hit me, but yeah, it was nice, you know, getting the win for alumni, just being able to keep rolling, stacking days. So it'll definitely be great going into a tough opponent this week. So
of course, and yeah, speaking of that tough opponent, what are you seeing so far with Ohio Dominican? You know, playing them as a player, now coaching against them, what's the big difference with them?
You know what you're going to get with ODU. They have a very good defense. It's always going to be a battle, and you know, Coach Rose is really going to challenge the defense this week. You know, just be better than theirs. That's what we got to do. You know, we're a very good defense. We're trying to be great. So it's just, you know what you're going to get with them, and you know, it's gonna be a fight. You know, it's always a close game. So
no doubt about it. Yeah, that's what Coach Geiser always says. Ohio Dominican, that's one you love to always focus on a team that's going to give you their best every single game. Well, Coach, I got to ask. You know, speaking of Coach Julian, where do you think he goes in 10 years? What do you think his ceiling is as a coach?
Well, you know what? I'm gonna be nice to him.
Okay.
I think he's on the way up. So if ever I'm on the way down, he might be able to take care of me. Like the way I took care of him here, you know, getting him started. You know, but I would say probably one thing that Chris has got a greater appreciation of right now than before was it's harder to be a coach in training camp than as a player. Is it not?
Yeah.
Because guys always they don't never realize until they're actually in that chair. I mean, as a player, you have downtime. As a coach, there is none. I mean, you're going about 5 in the morning until after midnight, and then you get back up the next day and do the same thing. You're always on call. So
I love it. That's awesome. Well, Coach Julian, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. We'll step aside, join you back here soon. Reminder not to go anywhere. You're watching Year 3, Episode 7 of the Doug Geiser Show right here on the Eagle Network.
Need a construction team that can do it all? Bo Lacey Construction delivers experience you can trust, done right on time, with free estimates and special financing offered for roofing, siding, gutters, windows, bathrooms, decks, to the highest standards of excellence, quality, and knowledge in the industry. Bring your next project to life with Bo Lacey Construction.
Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 7. I'm Cade Crackister alongside Coach Geiser, and now Nick Sailors. Nick, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to have you on here. Well, Coach, you said you had to let him know something here.
Well, I was gonna commend him on his dress, you know, coming to the show and really dressing up for the occasion tonight. So, but no, you're fine. You're fine.
Well, Nick, let's talk about your game this past weekend against Thomas More to begin here. Really good showing for you. We're able to get a tackle for a loss alongside, you know, getting the column in tackles with 4 on the game. How'd you feel your performance was against Thomas More?
I thought it was really good. You know, it's just a lot of watching film. We come together as DBs every Thursday night. We watch the game, as Coach Geiser likes to say, watch it through the same set of eyes, and we kind of find out like tendencies that the offense has, and it really helps watching that film because they'll point out stuff that you won't see the first time, and then you'll watch it again, you'll see it, and you'll be like, oh, like that's there. So it's just really good to come together and just watch the tendencies and kind of figure them out.
Yeah, and you know, I think a nice thing too that Coach Geiser mentioned was kind of your journey going up towards the special team side of things and really getting involved on that end. You know, moving from defense to special team side of things, you know, what's kind of your role on the special team side?
I think it's just do your job. You know, it's always the 111th. You know, you're not always going to make the play on special teams, but you know, you got to be in the right spot. And I think that's really just the big thing about special teams is you just got to be in the right spot and do your job when it comes down to it.
Yeah. What do you like more, defense or special teams?
Defense for sure.
Love it. Well, Coach Geiser, you know, you talked about you know, having Nick on the show today. I was really excited to hear kind of his discussion on how the year's gone so far. You know, what's your personal impression of how Nick's been this year?
I think he's taken the next step from last year. I mean, coming in very, very unheralded. You know, a lot of respects. You know, took off a year after high school. Didn't know when to play, right?
Yeah.
went to school at another institution, missed the game, and came to Ashland. Not a lot of fanfare. You watch tape, and he was the best player on his high school team as a tailback, mostly as an offensive player at that point. Played a little bit of safety, outside linebacker, and came in and he did things the right way. Earned his keep. He came in as a scout team player and was tearing us up, especially on special teams. And so we gave him an opportunity about halfway through the year, and by the end of the year, he's starting on the core 4. And he earned a scholarship by the end of that first fall, and very well deserved. And I think he's taking that next step here, going into his second year.
Yeah, Nick, how do you keep a calm persona and keep that headspace right, especially when you're coming to a new program like Ashland and you're trying to really earn your keep?
Yeah, it's just, so I kind of went through this in high school, I was always kind of the guy in high school, and then I get to my sophomore year of high school, we got a D1 running back, so I'm not playing anymore. It's just hard to keep that mindset of I need to keep grinding, I need to keep getting better even when I'm not on the field. And so it's just, kind of figuring that out and kind of taking that to here, never losing that, because that's kind of how I took it here, is anything I can do to get on the field, and that was special teams. I wasn't going to play on defense immediately. I knew that, so it was I want to play on special teams. I want to do the best I can to help the team win, and that was on special teams.
Yeah, why do you think you have that mindset? Because I know you think about it happens all the time. Division I, Division II, Division III, wherever you're at. I mean, those kids who might get put in that situation, they go, all right, football's not for me anymore. Do you have such a passion for football? What's the reason for you sticking it out?
Yeah, I really think it was that year that I took off. I just missed the game. I would always go hang out with my friends, and all we would do is just toss the football. It was just I couldn't get away from it, and it was just I would go watch the games on Saturdays, and I'd be like, man, I could be out there, I could be playing this game right now. And so it's just I never want to miss the game like that ever again. So I just want to give it my all while I have it and while I'm here.
Yeah, and what brought you to Ashland?
So actually, one of my good friends is Quentin Kaler. He also plays on the team.
Okay.
We played high school football together, and so he always told me, he was if you ever want or ever feel like you want to come back to football, just shoot me a text and I'll see what I can do. And so midway through the summer, 2 years ago, I was like, man, I think I want to play football. So he just sent my film to Coach Geiser, and that's kind of how it all unwound.
Interesting. Well, Coach Geiser, what was that like? I mean, when did you first start to, actually take notice of Nick and what he was doing on the field?
Well, the first one was when Quentin got a hold of me. Quentin played for me. He was a fullback at the time. And I still remember him coming up to me and say, hey, a friend of mine from high school is interested in possibly playing. Say, hey, show me the tape. And I was like, yeah, he's pretty good. So tell him he's got a home here. He wants an opportunity. We'll give him the opportunity. And it was probably right from day one of camp. He came in, and you just always saw him around the ball making plays. And that's a gift. That's the gift. Some people just have it, and he's always enthusiastic about it. And so you want to give him a little bit more on their plate, and he always produced with more on his plate. And so you watch him now. He's going to be a tremendous player. I'm really excited. I don't know what his ceiling is, by the time he graduates. And so we're excited for his future.
Yeah, and Nick, we've talked a lot about kind of your personal game this year, but Ashland as a whole, great start to the year. I was talking with Dusty Sloan, Director of Athletic Communications, yesterday, and on Inkblot, you guys are a top 4 team right now in the region, so you have a chance to potentially host down the back half of the year. I know Coach Geiser is going to say 1-0 every week. We know that, but how have you addressed the team's play this year?
Just week by week, we kind of take a mindset in the defensive room. It's, handle the chaos, and the chaos comes every week with each new opponent. And, every week there's new chaos to be seen. Indy was the quarterback, Thomas Moore, it was just kind of the RPO game. It's kind of all just handling the chaos and kind of taking it week by week and kind of figuring out, what do we need to do that week to come out with a win and be the best defense we can be possible.
Yeah, and
I didn't prep him for that.
I was about to say, you seem very well prepared, especially when it comes down to what these teams are going to offer. Who's kind of mentoring you in the locker room? Who's making sure that you're ready to go for every game? Last year, it was Isaiah Clark and Anthony Harkness, just 2 great seniors that I looked up to and kind of always asked questions. But this year, I really want to say it's EJT and DJ Butler. Both those guys. EJT is just a film maniac, knows everything in and out. He's really just a good guy to listen to and watch film and see what he sees. And then DJ Butler, just another senior. He came in this year, just a great mentor
mentor, always a good attitude, and I always like to watch him and see what he does so I can learn that and try to, you know, kind of replicate what he does because he's just such a good player.
Of course. And well, you came in with an entourage here today. Any guys you want to give a shout out to? Anyone who's kind of been in your book?
Yeah, so I got my 3 friends here, Grayson Sassis, Logan Thompson, James Reinfuss, you know, a little moral support squad. So, you know, they came out here just to support today.
I love it. Well, Nick, is this the first time you've done anything like this?
Yeah.
Done a great job. Job. Well, Coach, you know, my final thing involving Nick is, you know, you said you don't know where his ceiling's at yet. You know, what are you hoping to see for him down the rest of the season?
Well, I continue to improve. He takes advantage of the opportunities he gets when he's on the field, whether he's at the whip position or whether he's on all the core 4 special teams. You know, I can see if he continues to develop the way he is, he's definitely going to be an all-conference player. He can be plus that. You know, so that's exciting for me when you don't know a guy's ceiling, because, you know, just seeing him continue to develop and embrace that, you know, that's why I coach, is seeing that kind of development, and it's a neat dynamic.
Of course. Well, Nick, I appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Yeah. We'll step aside and join you back here soon. A reminder, you don't want to miss out on everything more to come right here on the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 7.
Need a construction team that can do it all? Bo Lacey Construction delivers experience you can trust, done right on time, with free estimates and special financing offered for roofing, siding, gutters, windows, bathrooms, decks, to the highest standards of excellence, quality, and knowledge in the industry. Bring your next project to life with Bo Lacey Construction.
Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 7. I'm Cade Crackerson alongside Coach Geiser, and now Jaden Cook. Jaden, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, you're kind of a man of a bunch of different tricks. You know, quarterback, punter, holder, you name it, you could probably do it. Well, you know, talk about your time as an Eagle. What's it been like over the course of your career?
Yeah, it's been a great 4 years. Senior here. Man, there's been so many things, ups and downs, obviously, along the way, but so many great memories on and off the field. Obviously, like you said, I kind of found my role in certain positions, and yeah, it's just been great.
Yeah, and Coach Geiser, how have you seen Jaden kind of weather those storms and kind of adapt to being an Eagle?
Well, it's a very unique journey he came in, because he was the guy at Clyde. And you want to talk about, you know, he was the Tom Cruise, okay? He was the Tom Brady at Clyde. He was. And when you go to college, you find out there's a lot of guys like that. And he never really hung his head. You know, he just kind of kept trudging forward, found his path, and I mean, he had a skill we didn't know about really coming in, and that was the ability to punt. And was able to earn some money. He's been our punter the last 3 years now, right?
Yep.
And has done a tremendous job for us. And oh, by the way, along those lines too, he's one of our accountability team captains. He's one of the leaders of the team. And he's a guy we really trust to keep the team in line behind the scenes and on the sidelines. You know, he's kind of my go-to guy, you know, to kind of solve problems during a game. So he's done a great job for us.
I love that. We'll focus on that here to begin, Jaden. But you know, that trust, that leadership that you kind of have with this team.
Yeah.
You know, how nice is it to get that support from your head coach?
It's a great feeling. Understanding that, you know, sometimes he comes to me, not sometimes, a lot of times he comes to me and, you know, there's something on the team or there's something, you know, mid-game. Sometimes he comes to me, he's like, hey, you know, I need you to step up, lead in this way, that way, whatever the case may be. But yeah, it's really just awesome to understand that you have that support from a head coach.
Yeah, now, let's talk about your punting side of things real quick, because it's been pretty lethal this season. You got yourself 9 punts inside the 20.
Okay.
Had your first touchback though this past week, but that means 33% of your punts that you're kicking are going inside the 20. How nice is that to feel?
It's a great feeling. It really is. CTG, right? Change the game, and for me, that's flipping the field, right? And certain positions on the field, where wherever coach wants us to go, that's me executing, and it feels great to understand that I'm doing a halfway decent job at it. So.
Yeah. You ever punt before college?
So I did. Yeah. Funny enough, we were talking before this, and I punted in high school. I had a very good punting coach in high school, Jerry Phillips. He kicked and punted at BG, and I started as a freshman, just doing it just cause. I was kind of on the sideline just hitting it. He was like, come work with me. Yeah. So we got to work in the last 4 years of my high school career. He really bought into me and saw that I had something in me, and it was just great. So I knew that I had it. I didn't even know that we didn't even have a spread punt. We didn't even have a spread punt.
Yeah, didn't have a spread punt when we came here.
Interesting.
It was always the offense on the field.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I did. We've talked about that. Yeah.
And when
is this the first year that's not the case, or when?
No, this is the third year. When I took over as a head coach, we had the pro style punt, and we needed a guy. And it made it a lot easier knowing we had this guy.
Exactly.
And obviously created a role for him, and it's been really, really productive for us.
Well, you talk about that role, and being a dual threat, being a quarterback, a guy who can move, a guy who can pass, and a guy who can punt. Right. That throws teams for a loop. A couple times now we've seen you fake it and pick up a first down or two. The nice thing was, you look back to last year, that fake against Tiffin, it was a game-changing moment. Yeah. For yourself, how do you welcome those challenges?
Like what I said, trust, and I know that my coaches and my team have that amount of trust in me to do plays like that, or call plays like that, right? And especially Tiffin, we get that first down, and then I think the next play right after that we scored. Jamari Groom for a touchdown that changed the game, right? Yeah. It's really important, and it's just amazing to understand that I have the trust from my coaches and my teammates to pull things off like that.
Is there a nerve difference? Is there a difference in nerves from when you're going out there just to regularly punt, and then going in there and you're going, oh gosh, I'm faking it?
There's, when Coach Geiser says, our fakes, we're going to go out there and do a fake, little butterflies, obviously, but no, I have confidence in myself and confidence in my guys that we're going to execute, and it's been great for that.
For sure. Let's talk about something that I feel like isn't talked about enough in football, the holder. What's that job like?
Man, honestly, I fell in love with holding. I honestly, it's so funny. I did hold in high school, but then.
What didn't you do in high school?
I know, right? I did hold in high school, and then our backup quarterback started it, doing it for me. But in college, an old kicker, Shane Rue, he needed just some holds, and I was out in the field, and I was like, sure, I used to hold. Yeah. So, we started getting together, and then AJ Rhodes, obviously our last kicker, we were really good friends, and he needed some holding as well. So he felt more comfortable with me, and I think he relayed that to the coaches, and then I said, well, here we are. I'm the holder now. So it's been great, and now Menaki and Nolan as well. Us three, we have fun with it, but we execute very well, and it's been great.
Yeah, what goes into being a holder? Like, what's the technique? What's the skill to it, I guess, if you will? Man,
it really just starts out with Nolan. Like I said, he always gives me laces out, which is great.
Okay.
But sometimes he doesn't, high, low, whatever, and then I gotta adjust it. And AJ likes the ball differently than Menaki.
Interesting.
So yeah, you have to play with it. It's very skillful, honestly, and I didn't really think about that until I got thrown into that position. So it's been fun.
For sure. Coach Geiser, did you ever realize how skillful it needs to be a holder?
No.
Interesting.
No, I did not. But here's what I know. I know whoever our kicker is comfortable with,
that's who it has to be.
That's the guy. So they're automatically traveling, even if they weren't, considered before. Now, obviously, Jaden was, but that carries a lot of cachet with me. And if they're comfortable with it and they execute with it, fine by me.
Right, for sure. Well, Jaden, on the sideline, I always look down and I'm always kind of scanning during a game, and I always see you headset on, and you're always very active. Doing the signals, doing whatever it is down there. What's that job about? Like, what are you doing down there for those who might not be aware?
I'm one of the play callers. That is something that I've done the last few years. So I am one of the guys who calls the plays in for Cam. Yeah, that's something that, again, I never really did.
Yeah.
That was just something I picked up, and Coach Stacy, again, trusted me with the play calling and play signals as well. We have a plethora of signals. You wouldn't even understand how many we need with all of our guys. But yeah, it's a great, again, another thing that I just kind of picked up and went with, and yeah.
Yeah, how do you manage all those play calls? How do you remember all of them? I've always been curious about that.
Signaling, you just gotta, man, we sit down and we make those signals for as easy as it can be to remember. So definitely, I mean, I go through the script. We get a script every week, just going through plays, and I sit down and, all right, kind of script out our plays with our formations and whatnot with play calling. So yeah, it's sometimes it's kind of nerve-wracking. Sometimes everyone's talking at once, and
sure.
Coach Geiser knows about that. But yeah, it's cool. It's a really interesting thing, and yeah, I'm grateful to be in that position.
You have like a cheat sheet just in case you forget one. Is that a thing?
I have a backup, Drew Novak, right next to me. He's usually with me. Thankfully, I've never really had to use him, but he's always right next to me if I have a question. Or Garrett Turnbull, if we're mixed up on a play call, I always have to ask him. I get the signal pretty well. Yeah,
for sure. Well, my last question to you, Jaden, is your time as an Eagle. What has Ashland meant to you?
Man, Ashland's meant a lot. I didn't really understand the importance of community, teamwork, and a great sense of camaraderie until I came to Ashland. I came through Clyde, great program, top to bottom academically and like football-wise, but Ashland is just different, and I think that is something that I will forever be grateful for. The coaches, the staff, to the community, to the just everything about Ashland. I'll be very, very grateful for, and I know that it has set me up for success in life.
That's awesome. Well, Jaden, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll step aside, joining back here soon. Only a couple more segments to go until we're done with episode 7, so stay tuned right here on the Doug Geiser Show.
Awesome.
Ashland University, tradition meets innovation. From academic success to championship athletic programs, Ashland University is a place where students discover their passion and prepare for life after college. With small class sizes, dedicated faculty, and an active campus community, Eagles soar higher here in Ashland. This message is brought to you by Barefoot Floors in Ashland, Ohio, serving residential and commercial flooring needs in Ashland and surrounding areas for the past 38 years. Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 7. I'm Cade Krakus, joined alongside Coach Geiser. And Coach, it's just the two of us now.
And just the two of us, yes.
But
yes.
we had some really good guests on earlier, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Had some guys had great insights. I think they're natural for the camera too.
I think so too.
I better watch. I might have to relinquish my job to them.
I was just about to say, we've gone through 7 episodes to start this year, and I feel like there's always a natural nervousness to being on camera. But your guys all seem prepared for it this year.
Yeah, they do for whatever reason. And I haven't given them a crib sheet or anything like that either. They're very, very gifted.
I love it. Well, let's dive kind of more in depth onto the football side of things. I feel like the Geiser Show consists of a lot of different things. I kind of think of it as an iceberg. You got the surface level, you got the middle, and then you got everything that's underneath the water at the very bottom.
Yep.
And we're going to talk more about the deep side of things here. First and foremost, the last segment we had Jaden on, we were talking about play calling, signaling, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What actually goes on? How does a quarterback get the call and know what's going to be said, and where does it start from the top down?
Well, it starts from the press box.
Okay.
Coach Stacy's in the press box, and we all have headphones on except for Coach Rose, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And so Coach Stacy initiates the call. It is communicated to the sidelines. And if you've seen us, though, you know, Jaden is one of many signalers.
I knew that, but
they're not all live.
Interesting.
Some are dummy. So you're asking about how do you keep all the signals straight? Well, you have that plus the fact if you know we switch up who's live and who's not, all of a sudden you got to make, you know what the call is going to be, but you can't use that signal.
Yeah.
So you got to be on your toes enough to realize that portion of it as well. So it's a very nerve-wracking job because if you don't get the right signal in, then they're not going to run the right play, and somebody's
getting in trouble. Yeah,
somebody's going to be held accountable for that. Yeah.
Well, are they just making up hand signals, or are they pre-planned dummy signals? Like, are they just like jabbering their hands around?
I don't know because I've never asked them. I would assume this. They probably use something that's actually means something for something else.
That makes sense. Okay, that probably makes some sense.
Okay, so hey, we're going to run inside zone to the right. Okay, well, I'm going to give them 5-step 4 verts and give them a pass or something like that. You know, so if you're trying to steal, which everybody tries to steal signals, and we do the same thing, and so you try to at least stay one step above, one step beyond where the other team is.
Well, before we dive into Coach Rose's situation without having a headset on, talking about sign stealing. Is that a thing that's allowed? I don't know how that works. Because didn't Michigan get in trouble for that a couple years ago? They got in trouble for it because they say that you're not allowed to go scout other teams in person. What if you wanted to go watch it?
And you're not allowed.
You're not allowed to? So if you wanted to go watch Ohio Dominican versus Walsh, you can't go do it?
We're not supposed to. It's
interesting. I didn't know that.
It's unethical. Yeah. The other part too is you're not allowed to film the other team doing their signals. So you can steal it during the game. That's still that. So they were talking about sign stealing being the deal. It wasn't the sign stealing. It was a matter of how it went about. Okay. The same thing. You go back to the Belichick thing too. I mean, they were supposedly filming the Rams doing their signals. You're not allowed to do that.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, well that's actually great to shed light onto. But now shifting back to the Coach Rose side of things. Very interesting thing that we've talked about a couple times on the show this year alone is the fact that he doesn't wear a headset on the sideline. So what's the process for him? You said he's never done it.
Never, and from what I understand, he's never worn a headset in 62 years of coaching.
Wow.
Which 62 years of coaching, that's just amazing in itself, and they're along those lines. Does he get communication? Yeah, maybe from somebody on the sidelines, but as he told me, he said, if I have a headset on, I have too many voices in my ear. He says, I know what I want to call. I want to be able to watch the game myself and kind of decipher it from there. And if you've ever seen him, he's got a little 5x8 card. He's got all his calls on a 5x8 card.
Wow.
And obviously he's done a tremendous job with it too. And you see, he's probably seen more football and had more experience with football than I ever will twice in my career.
So who does he? If he wants to talk to someone, does he just walk up to him? Is that kind of how he does it?
No. There's somebody that is tasked with giving him certain pieces of information he wants for every play.
Interesting.
And it's the same person. Now they might have a headset on too as they're communicating from the press box down
to him.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Has that ever presented any issues to yourself or the coaching staff? Has there been any hiccups in the road or no?
No, not at all. I mean, if I want to talk to Tim, I talk to him in person.
I love it. That's awesome. And that's a funny thing too, isn't it? He doesn't like emails. Isn't that a thing as well? I've heard. He doesn't like emails.
Emails or text.
Interesting. Is he a call guy?
He's yeah. you might get him occasionally on a phone call as well.
If not,
he's a more personal level guy.
Okay. So what if I pigeoned him? You think he'd get that?
What's that?
I give like a pigeon like a note and it takes it to him. You think he'd get that better?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That'd be better than phone call?
Absolutely, yeah. Handwritten note, phone call. Yeah, he does do those things. Yes.
Interesting. Yeah. Tim Rose, very interesting guy.
Yeah.
Love to have him on the show someday. Probably won't happen though. We'll see. But going back to the more the deep side of football as well. Teams normally have like a scheme, okay? Is that set by the head coach or is that set by the program? Is that set by the staff itself? How do you make your identity as a head coach? Because that's something that's obviously talked about a lot.
It kind of depends on the head coach. I have certain ideas and kind of philosophy and foundations on what I kind of want to run offensively, defensively, and special teams. But also you got to weigh that against the fact of what is the coaches you've hired, the coordinators you've hired, what are they good at? What do they understand?
Okay.
And probably more important, what can they teach? What can they sell? What can they make adjustments out of? That's more important than anything else. So it wouldn't do me any good for me to tell Tim to run XYZ defense. Of course, he's probably run every defense known to man. He understands it, so that's probably a bad example on that. If I went to Coach Stacy and say, hey, I need you to run the option, that's not his forte. Okay, so it's not really smart for me either to put him in that position or to ask him to do something he's not good with. You know, so it's, you know, we're very, very fortunate with me is, you know, there's been a lot of carryover and consistency in staff when I took over. And so we haven't really changed things that much scheme-wise. You know, when Coach Owens was here as well, that's who I grew up with as a young coach. So that continuity has helped. But there's also some subtle differences here and there, which are starting to come to a fore. But you know, that's just part of, you know, being different personalities.
Yeah, I think a big headline that's obviously out right now was the firing of the Penn State head coach.
Yeah.
And you know, I wanted to ask this: when it comes to a coaching change, obviously you were in a situation where Lee retired, and then there was no top dog in the building yet until you were named interim, and then from there ended up getting hired as the full-time head coach. What's that like as a coach? You know, when you find out and you hear, hey, our head guy's he's gone.
It can be rather upsetting, you would think. I know when we were at Akron and the change was made at Akron.
And you were with Lee then?
I was with Lee at that point as well. The thing was, the assistants still had to report for work for another month.
It's so weird.
to justify our pay.
Wow.
You know, so you're going in and basically twiddling your thumbs at that point. You know, I know when I took over, you know, when Coach retired and they're going through the hiring process, I was named the interim. There's still a lot of things that need to be done at that point in the year. So talking recruiting primarily, so I acted like I was in the chair and just kind of went, hey, this is what we need to do. We need to be on the road recruiting. We need to set up official visits, so on and so forth. I mean, the program doesn't just stop just because there's not a guy in the head chair. There's a lot of things that have to be done. They're very time sensitive throughout the year. So I would imagine too in the Penn State situation, there is an interim. I think it's Terry Smith, and I believe is an alum.
Yeah.
And they still got to go out and play. They're not going to cancel the season.
Yeah.
So he's very, very fortunate with his two coordinators he have. I know Jimmy Knowles personally. We're former college teammates, and you know, he's still got to keep going and try to have some kind of standard of excellence every week and try to get that dub.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, Coach, any advice for any coaches out there, anyone who's interested in being a coach, you know, about these different things that you have to weather as a coach and be ready for? You got any advice for anyone out there?
Really think about if it's something you want to do. Meaning this, it's a very rewarding career, but you need to understand if you are going to become a coach to make money, that's the wrong reason. That is the wrong reason. It is. It's got to be something that you have a passion for. There is a grind. There is a grind, and you got to kind of embrace the grind and all the preparation. Everybody sees the 2 or 3 hours that you're on game day on Saturdays. That's fun. There is nothing like it. They don't see all the time you spend calling recruits, texting recruits, going to high school games, being on the road, self-evaluation, spring ball practice. They don't see all that stuff. You've really got to embrace that if you want to be a coach. So that'd probably be my advice.
Perfect, Coach. Well, thanks. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
We'll step aside, join you back here soon. We're going to preview the game against Ohio Dominican coming up here soon, and then a wrap up today's show. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 7. Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 7. It's our final segment of today. I'm Cade Krakenster alongside Coach Geiser. Coach, we've made it all the way through.
Made it all the way through. We're almost done.
We're almost done for today. You know, as they say, go 1-0 every week. We're focused on this episode. Then we'll get to next week's. But
are we on the way to being 1-0?
We are about to be 1-0. We're close to getting 1-0, but we got to get through this last segment. Talk about ODU. What do you see in this team?
Well, any Kelly Cummings team, you know one thing about them. They are a really good defensive football team. They're well schooled in their philosophy. They're a 4-2-5. They are very physical. up front. The guys understand the scheme. You can see it on tape. They're trying to execute the techniques that they are taught, and it's a very, very challenging defense to go against as an offensive football coach.
Yeah, we always like to highlight some major players to be on the lookout for. I think it's always a fun thing, especially if someone's tuning in on Flow College to take a look at what's happening. What key players do they have that you've specifically noted?
Well, if you look on the defensive side of the ball, Quentin Wagers, I believe the defensive end from Lebanon, is leading them in sacks. He got 5 sacks, which is tremendous at this point of the year.
Yeah.
That's 1 per game for them. So that's somebody we're definitely aware of. He's got a great feel for bending to the quarterback, very flexible in that respect, great motor, and a lot of length. So it's going to really challenge our tackles with that. You look inside too, the number 15, the last name is Sharp, a tremendous player inside for them. You got a linebacker, last name of Hannah, is a tremendous player for their defense as well. They got a transfer from Toledo, Caden Holmes, as well as safety. So all 3 levels, they have really, really good football players, and it's going to really challenge our offense. And they'll have to be up to the challenge to be able to put some points on the board against this team.
Yeah, no doubt too. And they started the year 2-0. Great start for them.
Yep.
They even took down Tiffin, one of the highly touted teams in the conference this year. And they've always kind of been. I feel like you guys in Tiffin have always kind of bashed for the conference championship over the past couple of seasons. That's a big win for them. And obviously too, they're coming off a win over Kentucky Wesleyan. At least on your end, we always talk about just going 1-0 every week and focusing on that. But it's definitely some momentum for them heading into this game.
Yeah, absolutely. They're playing at home. They play different. They play different at home.
Yeah.
They play different at home. As you can tell, them taking down Tiffin earlier in the year, and Tiffin was coming off a very strong game against Ferris State. I think they played Ferris to their closest game in 2 years.
Wow.
So that was significant. That's a game that really catches your eye. Then offensively, they're very, very similar to us. Use a lot of personnel groups. They like their tight ends. They like to start with a physical run game and do some play action off of that. Their one quarterback, Drew Gallahue, was actually leading the conference in passing at one point during the year.
Wow.
Got a 2-headed monster at running back. So we got a receiver named Jaden Cornell. So it's a very challenging team. And oh, by the way, another part of their team, which is very similar to us, is they're really good on special teams. I know Coach Cummings coached their special teams personally, and so it's a 3-headed monster there that we're going to have to encounter and head down to Columbus and hopefully be able to give them a challenge.
Yeah, and I know one thing that we talked about at least at the halftime break and then after the game on the Flow College broadcast is, you wanted to see the guys go out there and respond in half number 2 and play a strong game. A couple hiccups in the game, allowed 14 points in the second half. Which obviously still ended up taking home the victory 38-14. But, I know you're probably thinking, okay, how can we avoid doing that again going forward?
Yeah, it was almost, if you look back at the last 2 games, we jumped out on top of the team at halftime, significant score. And the challenge is, you're probably going to end up subbing at some point in the second half, but you'd like to see the starters come back out of half, playing still at a high level.
Yeah.
Last week against Kentucky Wesleyan, the offense kind of lost their focus a little bit and weren't quite as sharp as they needed to be. And it kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth, at the end of the game. This week it was on the defensive side. Crucial, lack of discipline play, penalties.
Yeah, I think
it was a lot of penalties, kept their drives alive, gave them second life. You can't, college football teams, especially in the offensive side, are too good nowadays. You can't give them extra at-bats, if you want to take a baseball analogy.
That's a good way to put it.
And so we have to get work back and being disciplined in that respect, not being selfish. Sometimes it's kind of losing your head, losing your focus. So it was still great to get the win. But as a coach, it's great for us having some things to coach off of, still getting the win.
Of course. And, first couple of weeks we were talking about position groups that you wanted to see excel and move forward. I know a couple weeks back it was the rushing side of things. I know 2 or 3 weeks ago you said the special teams you wanted to see them be lights out. And funny enough, after you said that, you guys went out and ended up having a punt return for a touchdown. I think blocked a punt as well.
Yeah, for a touchdown.
Yeah, for a touchdown. Any specific groups you're looking at this week?
Well, I think with this group there'll be a couple challenges I give. Number one, on the offensive side of the ball, we're still not firing on the way we need to on our third down conversions. We need to put ourselves in a better situation where we can continue to keep drives alive by converting on third down. So that's a real key on that side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, there are too many missed tackles this past week. We got to get back to where we were earlier in the season and be sure tacklers, especially in open space. Then you look on the special team side of it. They've made significant progress the last couple of weeks, talking kickoff return. It's still not quite where we need to be yet, but they're closing ground.
Perfect, Coach. Well, what's your pitch to Eagle Nation to get them out there and supporting you just, I think, about an hour south.
It's about an hour and 15 minutes south. Great venue to watch a game. I know we've usually traveled very well to ODU because it is so close. So if you want to come out and watch your Ashland Eagles compete against one of the best teams in the GMAC, come on out this Friday. We'd love to have you.
Perfect, Coach. Well, I appreciate your time today. Appreciate the time of Nick Sailors, Chris Julian, and Jaden Cook. And it was a great episode.
Great episode. And can you say it now because we're wrapping it up, or we want to know this week?
We are 1-0 this week.
Okay, that's good.
So we're 7-0 on the season. We're undefeated. We're looking to keep that going. Well, we've got 6 more episodes this year, so make sure to tune into all of them as they come just around the bend. We've got a great one coming your way next Monday, so tune into that as well. But for all of our Ashland University sponsors, Buffalo Wild Wings here in Ashland, Coach Geiser, Nick Sailors, Jaden Cook, Chris Julian, and everyone who helped make this possible, we're saying so long here on the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 7.